13. Doing What You Shouldn't. The Return of the Living Dead.
Did you see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
In this film, canisters of toxic gas that could turn cadavers into zombies were stored in the basement of a medical warehouse. To show off, Frank took his new employee down to see the toxic gas, which supposedly served as the inspiration for Night of the Living Dead.
Hey, these things don't leak, do they?
Leak? Hell no, these things were made by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
I would.
Despite not knowing how safe
Those things in
were,
decades.
Frank decided to patent one of them. This released toxic gas that started a zombie outbreak. If your workplace is full of gas that could cause corpses to turn into zombies, maybe you shouldn't disturb them. Number 12. Driving under the influence. Hereditary. Let's start off by saying that it probably isn't a bright idea to take your kid's sister to a house party. This is especially true if she has food allergies and you plan on ditching her to do drugs with your friends. However, Peter decided to go through with this because he lied to his mum about going to a school-related activity, and she made him take his sister along. Because of his irresponsibility, Peter's sister had an allergic reaction to the food at the party, and Peter decided to drive her to the hospital even though he was high. He didn't even have the decency to call for an ambulance. But I guess it's nothing to lose your head over. Number 11. Having poor security. The Cabin in the Woods. Despite the brilliance of the narrative itself, this cinematic collaboration from Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard has one major flaw that can't be ignored. As the orchestrators of a plan to appease the gods watched a contrived narrative unfold, Marty and Dana managed to survive the ritualistic mayhem and find themselves in a secret elevator.
I think I can get it to go down. Do you want to go down?
While it may seem like a tough predicament, they managed to pick the lock, so to speak, thus unleashing the monsters all over the surprised staff. All that work, but still a flawed security system. Of course, you also have Kurt's questionable motorcycle jump, but in a way, that one makes a bit more sense. Number 10. Entering an unexplored cave. The Descent. Considering what happens to Sarah's family in the opening events of The Descent, you'd think that Juno might have learned a lesson when it comes to future outdoor excursions. Safety first.
Holly, safety first. I don't want any stunts this time. You okay? See you down there.
But these are the movies, and if you're going to take your loved ones spelunking, you go big or go home. Of course, Juno didn't exactly tell anybody the truth regarding the unexplored cave system, so naturally they were all kinds of screwed and left to battle some deeply annoying creatures known as the Crawlers. And you know what happens next. Number 9. Going into the pipe. Jeepers Creepers. In the middle of a road trip, a brother and sister came across an aggressive hothead who had a bad case of road rage. After following the mysterious man, the two witnessed him drop a body into a pipe. Rather than do the sensible thing and call the police, the brother, Darry, decided it was a good idea to take matters into his own hands and explore what was in the pipe.
Don't even think about it. Darry!
I told you I hit someone.
How bad was this decision? Darry's sister goes meta to explicitly warn him that this was like something out of a horror movie. This failure to recognize obvious red flags ended up sealing Darry's fate. Number 8. Not running to safety. I know what you did last summer. When you're being chased by a dark figure with a massive hook, and they appear to be quite efficient in their ways, the best course of action is always to keep moving. You know, running away from certain death. However, in I Know What You Did Last Summer, the beautiful Helen Shivers finds herself distracted by a marching band and obvious safety. However, she inexplicably stops, and not to check her phone, and that's how she gets herself killed. Now, that's why people scream at inanimate objects in public. Number Number 7, putting both hands in the box. Saw 2. For round 2 of Jigsaw's devious game of murder, he threatens slow and nasty deaths. But like a true gentleman, he informs the victims that antidotes can be found around the pad.
What is inside the safe in front of you? You all possess the combination to the safe. They are. The numbers are in the back of your mind.
Well, once Addison reaches a glass box, she's not quite as composed as she'd like to be. If she would have just processed the situation properly, rather than sticking not one but both hands in the box, she might have noticed the key lying just a few inches away. Not a sharp move, Maddie. Kind of like Lawrence cutting off his damn foot in the original Saw, rather than using his shirt to get the phone.
What are you doing?
Number 6, not hanging up and calling the police. Scream. By now, we can look back at this scene and laugh, considering we know the franchise as a whole. Still, it's a perfect example of how poor decision-making can make any mild-mannered viewer foam from the mouth, whether inside the movie theatre or at home. As Wes Craven's iconic film starts, Casey Becker gets a naughty phone call. But no matter what the person on the other side says, she can't manage to hang up the damn phone and call the cops.
Listen, I am 2 seconds away from calling the police.
They never make it in time. We're out in the middle of nowhere.
You gotta hand it to Drew Barrymore for such an honest performance, even if her character is a few apples short of a bushel.
Who's there? I'm calling the police.
Number 5, having crime been legal for one night. The Purge franchise.
Commencing at the siren, any and all crime, including murder, will be liable for 12 continuous hours.
While the idea behind the Purge sounds like an interesting thought experiment, it's a bad idea that should be scrapped immediately after consideration. Once you start to think about the logistics of carrying out such a concept, it's really hard. Even if it boosted economic productivity and brought down unemployment, the human cost would outweigh any economic benefit from the Purge.
Purge and purify. Say it with me.
Each movie shows different problems that come from the Purge, not only on the poor and marginalised communities, but also everyone else. Number 4, watching a videotape you know is haunted, The Ring.
Have you heard about this videotape that kills you when you watch it?
If Scream made people laugh and cry, this
If the
apparently
music
remake
is
of a
talking,
classic
I'm gonna go
Japanese
back.
horror film made viewers melt down in public and dribble a little bit of pee down their leg. At the heart of The Ring is The Tape, a disturbing recording that characters have been warned not to watch because it will kill them. And just like how nobody can turn away from a train wreck, the characters of the film naturally just have to know what the F is going on with the tape, as if they actually knew that a creepy girl would crawl out of the TV and drag them to hell. But alas, that's what happened. The moral of this story, maybe don't push play and just go to the gym or something.
So, what are we watching? Home movies or something?
I'd really rather watch it home.
Really?
Number 3, releasing the chimps. 28 days later. Kind of like climate change, some people just refuse to believe scientists.
The chimps are infected.
Are you streaming?
They're highly contagious. They've been given an inhibitor. Infected with what?
Despite warnings from one in the opening minutes of the zombie flick 28 days later, a group of activists make a supremely idiotic decision. The chimps essentially rage against the machine, and they rage hard, giving the film its title and making viewers hate those animal activists, as if
Make
Rita
sure you put
wasn't
the ball
already
back on
having a
top.
hard enough time as it is. They really ruined it for everybody, and even managed to infect us with anger.
Are these working real quick?
Number 2, giving up too soon. The Mist.
You gave it a good shot.
I love it,
I can see we did.
Mommy.
I'll be with you, Sarah.
the most agonising moments in modern cinema, a man comes to the proverbial crossroads after the mist wreaks havoc. Yet, this path of escapism involves death for his entire crew. Being the upstanding citizen that he is, David Drayton executes a mass act of what he considers as mercy. But surprise, the war is over as the US Army rolls up and inadvertently delivers
They are calling like
very soul. Now, that's what you call some bad timing, and certainly a very senses. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, keeping the beaches open. Jaws. When the remains of a dead body are found on the shore, Mayor Larry Vaughan doesn't balk under pressure from local authorities. Rather, he stands tall in the name of the almighty dollar, even if people later describe ginormous teeth in the wrecked hulls of boats.
Larry, if you make an effort today, you might be able to save August. August? For God's sake, tomorrow's the 4th of July. And it will be open for good.
And so the smart competition doesn't close the beach. After all, they caught the culprits in question, right? Well, no, they didn't. Some people in horror movies screw only themselves with dumbass decisions. But in Jaws, one prideful man just couldn't pay attention to the obvious facts and made everybody feel the wrath of a great white shark. What kind of dumb mistake would you make if you were in a horror movie?
Oh, okay, y'all look nasty. Trifling, baby. Oh, he came with a thunderbolt.
Did you enjoy this video?
Watch out.
Check.
Bang. Okay. Bang, 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 bang.
Imagine yourself in one of these two boats, or swimming in a pool 10,000 hours in. Don't miss.
This is like the house that's haunted. It's your son.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at the most nightmare-inducing movies you can watch on Netflix as of February 2024. Just to be on the safe side, look out for potential spoilers. Number 30, Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight. If you're tired of the Hollywood grind, Polish director Bartosz Pawełski has this semi-hidden gem for you. It begins with a familiar scenario, involving teens in a camp in the woods, and you'll probably notice other parallels between this and some notably famous horror flicks. But Nobody Sleeps plays these genre tropes like an orchestra, delivering some excitedly surprising scares assembled for die-hard horror fans. As the characters do battle with an unseen killer, the film's well-crafted murder sequences prove that you don't need a big budget for a good fright. It even garnered enough views for a worthy sequel, and that is a double feature we highly recommend. Number 29, Cargo. Zombie-based material has seen a remarkable influx this century, but stories like Cargo keep the genre fresh. It really doubles as a psychological drama and a post-apocalyptic horror. After his wife joins and he's infected as well, Andy Rose has to ensure his infant daughter's safety. It's easier said than done, as braving the Australian outback presents its own challenge.
You can sell this $5 spatula on Amazon and compete with hundreds of other spatula sellers, or
while the tried and tested zombie tropes are thrilling, Cargo's fear factor comes from anticipation. By following the main character, we experience the same race against time he undergoes. It is a chilling depiction of the fragility of life, particularly when the protagonist's fate is sealed. Number 28, 47 Years Down, Uncaged. Survival horror to go bigger with their sequels. 47 Meters Down Uncaged is no exception. The original focuses on two women in a cage surrounded by sharks. The follow-up is about a group trapped in a sunken city with more sharks on the prowl. Unlike most other shark-based thrillers, Uncaged doesn't contain gore, but it manages to be
double
just
team
as
it out.
to an atmospheric style of direction. Its dark, confined
It's
environment creates a sense of paranoia.
We stay here, we'll die. We're gonna watch each other's backs.
The gut-wrenching deaths that usually happen out of nowhere always have an impact. Surprisingly layered characters make us root for them to survive. However, the film firmly stands by the anyone can die rule. Number 27, Dawn of the Dead. With Zack Snyder's directorial debut, he injected some adrenaline into a George A. Romero classic. He and screenwriter James Gunn recooked the original shopping mall setting to favor action and scares over social satire. The result is a pulse-pounding game of catch between gory chase sequences and quiet scenes of claustrophobic tension.
Is everyone there dead?
Not dead-ish.
Is everyone there dead?
Rather than lumbering along like typical lethargic zombies, these brain eaters run just as fast as sentient humans. That makes the brutes even more menacing, and it forces our survivors to continuously invent creative ways to outsmart them. Dawn of the Dead received praise for its ability to honor the original while remaining accessible to new fans. So whether you love the zombie genre or you will love it, this Frightmare is for you.
Oh.
You sure?
Damn, hit me with some Tech and Savage shit. I can't block this motherfucker.
In recent times, the platform serves as a profound allegory
Damn,
of deception. It shows the lengths people will go to when backed against an impenetrable wall. The characters are trapped in a tower-style vertical prison, receiving food via the lower a person's salary.
No, right out, get better.
Main character Goreng is randomly moved to different cells at the end of each month. He battles between his moralities and the temptation to harm someone else to survive. The platform's stifling backdrop is complemented by its dystopian themes. The movie will make you avert your eyes several times as the characters become more willing to kill.
Damn, get it.
Taking place in 80s war-torn Iran, a seemingly supernatural evil is the main villain in this psychological horror. Medical student Shide and her daughter are forced to stay inside to avoid bombardment. Unfortunately for them, they're seemingly targeted by a djinn who antagonizes them at every turn. Under the Shadow leaves enough ambiguity for viewers to interpret.
I don't think you slick, boy, right now.
Seen as a manifestation of Shige's own drama. Whatever lens you view the film through, it succeeds in relaying the helplessness of its protagonist. The more the situation escalates, the more she loses her grip on reality. Under the Shadow deftly treads the line between horror and social commentary. It is a striking reminder that fear can take many forms.
Got him.
Number 24, Camp.
Guess what?
Not every horror movie
Do
needs
go
death and
get
destruction.
my family.
In Cam's case, the movie provides its thrills through a confusingly suspenseful plotline. Webcam model Alice's life is turned upside down when she discovers someone copying her content. This goes beyond identity theft, though, as the fake Alice turns out to be an identical doppelganger.
What are you even saying?
She stole the password. You're gonna have to let me in.
Looks exactly like you. Convince them to buy your account all in one night.
The real Alice watches
I gotta go real quick. I need help finding a
her
decent
attempts to
outfit.
expose the fraud take her down a dangerous rabbit hole that becomes increasingly complex.
A decent
The
outfit.
dangers of the internet have been explored in films before, but Ken keeps things
Got a bag
fresh
full
with
of clean
frequent
clothes, right?
mind-bending plot twists.
Yeah, I gotta put my children pairs of underwear, but I can't find it.
Stole my face and now I'm going to get it back. You stole my face and now I'm going to get it back.
Number 23, There's Someone Inside Your House. The most memorable slashers generally feature villains with an edge. In this film, the antagonist slays his victims while wearing masks that resemble them.
I didn't know
Oh, yeah,
windshield
should I
drivers
get
about this
ready
new
to-
rule.
All right, if you're currently insured, you drive less than 50.
It contains the classic template for the genre. A mysterious killer hunts high school students one by one. As the characters try to figure out who it is, they begin to suspect each other. There's Someone Inside Your House isn't a reinvention, but it does get hearts thumping.
Oh, I've
Thrillers
seen
with
that
reckless
movie.
pursuit paves the way for brutal kills that are hard to solve. Plus, the whodunit
Messed
line works
up,
well in keeping
bro.
viewers invested until the grand reveal. Number 22,
Messed up.
Alive.
Twisted.
Hashtag Alive begins with
not
Delaware
at all what I
Ocean Blue in
was
his apartment
expecting.
when chaos ensues outside. Zombies swarm the streets, attacking everyone and leaving Jin-woo isolated in his home trying to communicate with the outside world.
Yeah, I'm taking my tablet
Upon
with
its
me.
release in September 2020, this South
Never
Korean
know.
zombie
I
film
couldn't get it in time.
shot
This
to the
don't happen.
top of the Netflix
What?
charts. Premiering during the COVID-19 pandemic made it prime
Oh, you
lockdown.
met my sister
Zombies
Anna,
have become
haven't
so
you?
repetitive that they're hardly scary anymore.
Okay.
So another movie about escaping hordes of the undead doesn't exactly stand out.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Should I leave this with you? I think this should stay with you.
Isolation that makes hashtag
Because
and especially a short war flick
9 times out of 10, it might be left at my parents' house.
Number 21, I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. Due to some impressive cinematography, this film is as aesthetically suffocating as required. With a minimal cast, the focus is on a haunted house with malicious intent.
Or maybe I'll pick a pie.
When Nurse Lily
Where
Sailor
did I
becomes
go?
caretaker to an elderly woman, she senses the presence of a specter. Lily's bid to learn the truth runs concurrently with Polly Parsons' story in 1812. The latter is connected to the present through the house. Audiences are kept in the dark about what's really going on.
It is a terrible thing to look at oneself, and all the while see nothing.
The constant feeling of being watched sticks with us throughout its runtime. Those looking for a throwback to older scary movies will appreciate the film's slow burn format. Number 20, Incantation. Found footage films are something of an acquired taste. The camera style may not be for everybody, but creative storytelling goes a long way. Incantation
Hey,
has
jumping the
twists
fuck
beyond
out.
your training device.
What?
We also have an unreliable narrator in the
Because when I get done getting ready in the
plot
house,
weaves in and out between
You're
the
gonna
haunted
need to
woman's
come
daughter
grab the
and the
keys.
events that caused it.
Just lock the door and come back. Bring it up.
I'm telling you, you need to come grab it so I can make sure I'm down there before my dad gets here, so I have the Wi-Fi, so I can have the Wi-Fi to use.
Just text your dad and tell you when you want
Supernatural
to bring
execution
it.
of its scares. The film combines elements from
Tell your dad you're on your way when you bring it.
It also benefits from its cast, whose convincing portrayals sell its premise.
Just tell your dad you're on your
The
way.
found footage format was
Bring the
past
keys,
its
baby.
prime.
So you give me a kiss
Incantation
first.
reminds us why this filmmaking technique can still be so effective. Number 19, The Perfection. Former cellist prodigy Charlotte returns to the elite world of classical music after an abrupt departure and years of caring for her terminally ill mother. After her mother's passing, Charlotte travels to Shanghai to meet up with her old mentor Anton and his new protege. Lizzie is essentially living the life Charlotte would have had if she stayed. Naturally, she's jealous, but there's also an attraction between the women. Once the two spend the night together, it doesn't take long for things to spiral out of control. The Perfection is unpredictable, thrilling, and at times pretty gross. But it's one twisted Netflix original that's sure to exceed expectations. Number 18, Silent Hill.
And sometimes when you go to sleep, you go on a little walk. And sometimes you talk about a place called Silent Hill.
The Silent Hill series revolutionized the gaming landscape, converting the main character's darkest thoughts into a spooky ghost town. The film version shoots for similar heights. While its faithfulness is debatable, this adaptation's stunning visuals immediately captured the attention. The spooky rendition of the titular town serves as the backdrop for a mother's search for her missing daughter. Rose's journey is riddled with interferences from a delusional cult out to get her.
Are you a person of faith? I love my daughter. It's not what I asked.
The story can be confusing in places, but Silent Hill's overall presentation is its winning quality. Everything from the dark filter to the smog-filled streets will leave a chill up your spine. Number 17, Annabelle. One of the highlights from The Conjuring was the debut of the creepy Annabelle doll. Fan requests were granted when the doll received its own spin-off. The prequel reveals its whereabouts before falling into the Warrens' possession. After a married couple becomes the doll's new owners, strange things begin to happen.
There are things happening that we can't explain.
Girl.
What things? Hey, are you sure they're not just manifestations of your anxiety?
Getting rid of Annabelle is easier said than done, as the entity inside latches itself to its victims. The movie builds up its scares through a mixture of tension and suspense. Then again, the general appearance of Annabelle is enough to give anyone nightmares. Much like The Conjuring, Annabelle's brand of horror leaves you wondering if someone's right behind you, waiting to claim your soul. Number 16, Crimson Peak. In 2015, the immensely talented Guillermo del Toro gave us gothic romance at its best. This beautifully crafted ghost story follows Edith, a young American heiress / aspiring writer, as she's wooed by Sir Thomas Sharp. After they marry, she moves into Allerdale Hall, the family estate in England, which he shares with his cold-as-ice sister, Lucille.
I have to leave. I have to get away from here. Edith, this is your home now. You have nowhere else to go.
The dilapidated mansion holds many secrets for Edith to uncover. She's no stranger to spirits, but the ghostly inhabitants in Crimson Peak are horrifying nonetheless.
I don't want to do
Between the star-studded cast and stunning Edwardian-era setting, it's sure to give you a fright. And an endorsement from Stephen King doesn't hurt either. Number 15, Lights Out. If you're afraid of the dark, then this movie will reconfirm your fears. Even with today's technology, it's nearly impossible to stay under lights all the time. Here, a violent spirit targets its victims under the cloak of darkness. For Rebecca and her family, this means living in a constant state of terror. The film plays out in a frenzy of jump scares and in-your-face moments to unsettle viewers. The premise is a clever spin on a fear many people share. Because of this, the characters' struggles are easy to relate to. Although the manner in which it frightens audiences isn't new, Lights Out does it so well that it feels entirely original. Just be sure to keep the lights on while you're watching the movie. Number 14, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Based on the children's horror book series, this adaptation combines several stories into one. A group of teenagers finds a book that writes stories before their eyes. Even worse, these seemingly fictional tales turn out to be true.
You don't read the book. The book reads you.
The mystery behind the antagonist is the main hook around which all the fright-filled sequences occur. The one who's being written about becomes a target, doomed to a terrible fate.
Stories hurt. Stories heal. What you have done.
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark's energetic brand of storytelling is appealing to a younger audience. But the scares are wild enough to interest older viewers as well. Number 13, Ouija, Origin of Evil. Ouija boards have long been synonymous with inviting chaos. If this movie is any indication, it's best to steer clear of them altogether.
What's this?
2014's Ouija was commercially successful but critically panned. The prequel flips the script for an origin story that's disturbing in every way. After purchasing a Ouija board as part of their spiritual medium act, a family summons an entity for real. The rest of the film follows the youngest daughter's possession as the spirit refuses to let go.
You see stars, then darkness, and then the last thing you feel is cold.
Ouija Origin of Evil goes for a subtle narrative, easing into scenes before startling audiences when they least see it coming. It leaves no doubt that the spirit is out to get you. There really might be no escape. Number 12, Apostle. After his father receives a ransom letter, it's up to Thomas Richardson to go rescue his sister Jennifer. She's being held on Erisden, a secluded Welsh island inhabited by a mysterious cult led by Prophet Malcolm Howe. Thomas poses as a follower and infiltrates the island, searching for Jennifer and always looking over his shoulder. The premise is scary in itself, but the cult's practices, which include blood sacrifice and violent methods for punishment, are truly terrifying. The film is a slow-burning folk horror tale filled with dread.
Good
If
God.
you liked The Witch and The Wicker Man, Apostle is right up your alley. Number 11, Malignant.
It's time. We cut out the cancer.
Interestingly, the film's title gives away its plot twist, and yet it's almost impossible to predict anyway. What starts as a psychological thriller morphs into full-blown horror by the end. When abused victim Madison begins dreaming about deaths around her, she learns they're turning into reality. To make things worse, her childhood imaginary friend Gabriel somehow appears to be behind it.
Dang, they nasty on this. They nasty.
The movie makes you see that you really haven't. Malignant has one surprise after the next, keeping viewers entertained and terrified at the same time. Number 10, Creep.
Death. It's time.
Mark Duplass is known for acting in shows like The League and The Morning Show, as well as running a production company with his brother Jay. But he reaches an impressive level of scariness in Creep, which he also co-wrote.
Are you just trying to scare me? Or... Okay, well, I'm terrified, okay?
How do you sleep at night?
I'm mattress man, so I sleep.
This week only at the July 4th. This found footage-style psychological thriller follows Aaron, a videographer traveling to a remote cabin to meet his client, the clearly unstable Joseph. The film has its funny moments, given the absurdity of Joseph's requests and his increasingly unsettling behavior. But the overall atmosphere is eerie, and just like Aaron, we are constantly on edge. Duplass returned to the role in the 2017 sequel, where he's just as playfully sinister as before.
Aaron, come on.
Did you think like...
Number 9, Gerald's Game.
This is gonna be good for us, it's really good.
Before director Mike Flanagan gave us the excellent Netflix original horror series The Haunting of Hill House, he proved himself on the streaming service with his adaptation of the Stephen King novel, Gerald's Game. Just the basic premise is enough to give you nightmares. A couple, Gerald and Jesse, attempt to rekindle their relationship with a romantic weekend getaway. Unfortunately, things go from bad to worse when Gerald has a fatal heart attack, leaving Jesse handcuffed to the bed. Equal parts fascinating and terrifying, the film is a psychological horror that stands out from the crowd.
So you got your ass started, huh?
Not real.
Number 8, The Strangers. Few things are scarier than a killer without a motive. Now, multiply that by 3 and you've got The Strangers. James and Kristen endure the most hellish of nights possible as they're hunted by a trio of masked murderers. The antagonists hunt the duo for their sick amusement. The film depicts the couple's attempts to evade their stalkers.
What's love got to
The
do with
killers
it?
are always one step ahead of them.
Open the door. I just want to run. Okay?
The Strangers isn't for the faint of heart. After brimming with suspense for most of its runtime, the finale serves as a brutal payoff. By the end, we're left wondering how anyone can be capable of such unprovoked violence. So remember, if a stranger knocks at your door at 4 a.m., it's best to leave it unanswered.
Why are you doing this to us?
Because you were home.
Number 7, Fear Street Part 2, 1978. Netflix's 2021 Fear Street trilogy was a horror fan's dream, or maybe nightmare. Based on R.L. Stein's book series of the same name, the entire trilogy is a must-watch. Part 1, 1994, is the familiar 90s teen slasher, while Part 3, 1666, fits more in the rustic folk horror aesthetic. In Part 2, 1978, we see the events of the Camp Nightwing massacre play out.
Mommy?
It's a bloody good time, especially if you're nostalgic for classic killer camp films like Friday the 13th and Sleepaway Camp. Maybe it's The Woods or, you know, the axe-wielding madman, but Part 2, 1978 is definitely the scariest of the three. Number 6, Veronica.
You ain't gonna do nothing, bro. I'm scared.
Young teen girl, Ouija board, demonic possession, and a life's true story, Veronica is a film with a lot of familiar elements. But trust us when we say that in the case of this particular movie, those add up to something memorable and truly terrifying. A Spanish-language film set in Madrid in 1991, Veronica follows the titular heroine as she succumbs to the influence of a demonic force after partaking in a seance during a solar eclipse.
Finding insurance should be easy.
The relationship between Veronica and her siblings gives the film a real emotional core, while director Paco Casas' experienced hand ensures a heavy and consistent dose of fear. Number 5, The Ritual. Based on the 2011 novel by Adam Neville, The Ritual takes us to the Swedish wilderness, where 4 friends, Bill, Dom, Hutch, and Luke, go hiking in honor of their deceased friend Rob. Luke is plagued by nightmares, replaying the night of Rob's unexpected death, which he witnessed and could have prevented. The journey becomes more challenging as the lads argue, sustain injuries, and take shortcuts that just get them lost. With a supernatural creature hunting them down in a forest littered with mysterious symbols of witchcraft, they must do whatever they can to survive. Number 4, The Wailing. A film that'll have you questioning what's real and what isn't. The Wailing is designed to be a mind-boggling experience. After a stranger arrives in a small village, unexplainable events begin to occur. Policeman Chung-Gu finds himself at the center of an incoming calamity and resolves to stop it. Unfortunately for him, the demonic entity responsible leaves a trail of pain and terror in its wake. The Wailing doesn't shy away from displaying cringe horror through gruesome imagery, but it also carries hard-hitting themes of panic and hysteria that are arguably even more distressing. And thanks to a solid screenplay, the movie will have you thinking well past its 156-minute runtime. Number 3, Insidious. At the time of its release, Insidious took the horror industry by storm. Made on a relatively low budget, audiences flocked to cinemas to check out this otherworldly feature. Here, a young boy becomes a conduit for supernatural entities from the astral plane.
I'm scared.
Bang. No, don't swing. Up. Body slam.
Scared what?
Of course, this reveal comes after numerous freaky moments that will make your hair stand up. With something frightening in almost every scene, the film style is similar to classic horror movies. But there are other entities. We're on the level and have a more insidious agenda. Insidious does one better. carving out a unique lore around the dreaded dimension known as the Throwback. From featuring creepy demon appearances to maintaining a tense atmosphere, the film sucks audiences into its claws and never lets go. Number 2, It Follows. It Follows manages to be completely original while channeling the classic teen slashers of the past. When it came out in 2014, it was immediately one of the best horror films of the year, or even the decade.
Open the door.
See? Everything's okay.
The plot is simple. A supernatural entity follows you until it's passed to another person through sex. And when Jay contracts this supernatural STI from you, she and her friends have to figure out how to stop it. However, Jay is the only one who sees its many forms walking towards her. There's some seriously chilling imagery here that will stay with you for a while. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, His House. This isn't exactly your typical haunted house movie.
Oh no! What the golly molly?
And while there's a sense of relief that they now have a roof over their heads, it's hard to adjust to this new life for reasons both realistic and terrifying. His House explores the immigrant experience and the harrowing journey of asylum seekers. But to make things worse, they have to fight against the spirits within the walls of their home. It is a hell of a debut from Remy Weeks, who perfectly blends real social issues with genuine horror. Which Netflix horror movie will have you hiding behind the couch?
Oh, get
They
him!
used to say this place was haunted. I think they were right.
Did you enjoy this video?
Take a seat.
My love of
Take a
agriculture.
seat.
It started right
Take
here
a seat.
with my favorite teacher, Miss Cat. Thank you. Absolutely sit down.
Take a seat.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for incredible practical effects from pre-2000s films that are still impressive today. Number 10, The Jog, 2001, A Space Odyssey.
We are all, by any practical definition of the words, foolproof and incapable of error.
Stanley Kubrick's seminal film proves it doesn't take fancy CGI to make a truly convincing sci-fi movie. The famous but simple scene where one of the astronauts jogs around the outer part of the ship's centrifuge was done by staging the camera in a large rotating set.
Get him.
The result is a convincing illusion where the camera seems to follow and stay ahead of the runner. Kubrick had to get creative in his use of practical effects to simulate both weightlessness and artificial gravity. And the result is a space epic that's still extremely impressive today.
Huh?
Open the cloud bay doors.
Next door?
Okay, I got a question for you, right?
Number 9, Fountain of Blood, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
All I got, you 120 plus
This
the
scene
80,
was a
so
bloody nightmare, all right.
what's
This
190?
classic slasher film directed by Wes Craven contains tons of truly gruesome killings. For Glenn's death, however, something extra was needed.
Imagine it's like a lottery drum. There's a platform.
You said a what?
Waiting at the top. The drum turns and when it hits the mark, boom, and that's the bell.
When Glenn falls asleep, he's sucked through a hole in his bed, and a geyser of blood then spews out. To make it happen, Craven built the set on a gimbal. Once he flipped it upside down, the crew dumped hundreds of gallons of red dye
So you
water.
said on the 12th you got 120?
The water reportedly caused the set to spin
Mine's come
unexpectedly
Monday.
and made a huge mess. At least they got a truly
The
iconic
8th.
shot out of it.
What the hell did that?
That's when I get my 120.
Yeah, from mine.
From the job, shooting since the start.
Number 8, Melting Head, Raiders of the
No, I said I'll have like 30 left to sell.
Shut your eyes, Mary, and don't look at it.
first Indiana Jones film definitely has its share. Seeing Nazis die on screen via divine wrath is always
Yeah, no, I said I could pay you from donation Monday.
Special attention for its practicality. First, Steven Spielberg's special effects team made a rubbery mold of actor Ronald Lacey's head.
The shot required Ronnie Lacey to have a facial cast, and I've had that done myself.
That's the Monday the 8th is when I get my stamp, and I donate that same day.
In layers of gelatin, which they then melted using propane heaters and a heat gun. Once achieved, the melted mold
what's that, like $15?
footage of Lacey screaming. The 1981 film Scanners similarly used gelatin molds over a fake skull in their famous exploding head scene. Now, that is truly creative filmmaking, and all without CGI.
Yeah, that was you told me, yeah.
Number 7.
I'll get 50 Monday, so yeah, okay.
Brundle fly.
Okay, well, let me know.
Don't you think that's what the Nobel Prize is?
Okay, then here I come.
This transformation scene is still stomach-churning. After a slow deterioration resulting from a botched experiment, Seth Brundle finally transforms into a gruesome human fly hybrid. To achieve the effect, the makeup and special effects team went to town on Jeff Goldblum, using prosthetics for his growing deformities.
Say, who dreamt he was a man? I loved it. But now the dream is over.
The final stage of the fly is actually a series of puppets maneuvered by cables and rods. A puppet was also used in the fly's death when he's fused with the telepod. The team won a well-deserved Academy Award for Best Makeup for their efforts to turn Brundle into the Brundle fly.
My teeth have begun to fall out. The medicine cabinet's now the Brundle Museum.
I couldn't even get up.
See what else?
Number 6. The White House.
The Bush guy, cold and smooth survival skills. Should you become stranded, be ready.
The explosion of the White House in Roland Emmerich's film is still as shocking as it was in 1996. A large plaster model of the building was constructed for the shot, which was decorated with dollhouse furniture inside to ensure that the debris looked realistic. Once done, the team put 40 explosives around the model.
This model probably cost in excess of $50,000. I get one shot at it.
The actual detonation was over in just under a second, but Emmerich used a high-tech camera to capture it in gorgeous slow-mo. The director has since made a career out of destroying major landmarks on film, but none have quite the impact of that Independence Day scene. Number 5. Mirror Shot. Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
You learn stuff that you haven't been programmed with, so you can be, more human. And that's what you do all the time.
Making Arnold Schwarzenegger's head peelable is no small feat. And to this day, the scene where Sarah Connor takes out the T-800's microchip in front of a mirror still looks remarkably convincing. The mirror is actually a window, with Arnie sitting behind it facing the camera, while Linda Hamilton works on a dummy head.
Doesn't want you to do too much thinking, huh?
No.
Can we reset the switch?
Hamilton's twin sister Leslie was brought on to play Connor's reflection, and the two had to mirror each other's movements exactly. It was an extremely clever piece of special effects trickery that left viewers totally baffled.
Don't kill him.
Number 4. The Shuftan Process. Metropolis. You've made it as a visual effects artist when a whole process gets named after you. Created by cinematographer Eugen Shuftan, the most iconic use of it was in the classic German film Metropolis. The Shuftan process involves using plate glass and mirrors to create the illusion that miniature models are actually full-sized sets. It even enables the filmmakers to make it look like people are moving inside the miniatures. By the mid-20th century, the process was replaced by blue screens and other types of special effects. But when it comes to small effects that can achieve big results, few can best the Shuftan process. Number 3. Transformation. An American Werewolf in London.
Stay on the road. Keep clear of the moors. Thank you.
This scene alone film took an entire
Kiddos and
week to shoot.
kidettes.
After protagonist David gets attacked by a wolf, he begins to have strange dreams. And if you've seen the title of the movie, you know what comes next. Director John Landis put months of preparation into David's transformation into the titular beast. The film's crew created multiple different prosthetic heads and limbs to use at different stages of the metamorphosis.
I thought I
The
told you
hair
don't
growth was
come
filmed in
around here.
reverse, with the crew trimming it between shots and running the footage backward to make it look like it was growing. Landis also employed stop-motion animation and animatronic devices. All these combined techniques make the scene incredibly visceral and convincing.
Okay, give me a minute.
Number 2, the T-Rex, Jurassic Park.
Okay, give me a minute. I'm in the middle of streaming.
Even decades
I'm in the middle of streaming. Give me a minute.
Sci-fi masterpiece still astounds audiences with its realistic special effects. The film relies heavily on practical effects, with only 6 minutes of CGI making it into the final cut. The dinosaurs were created almost entirely using detailed, full-scale animatronics, including the massive T-Rex. No wonder the kids look so convincingly terrified. They're reacting to an actual life-size dinosaur, not a green screen. As for the T-Rex's bone-rattling roar, the film used recorded vocals of a tiger, alligator, and even a baby elephant. The result is a staggeringly realistic dinosaur. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Baby Xenomorph. Alien.
Oh, that was a hard stuff. So do you get?
Of course, we must talk about the most realistically gruesome scene of all. The Xenomorph is one of the most recognizable and terrifying movie monsters thanks to the excellent design talents of H.R. Giger. He, along with the rest of the design team, made the creatures come to life. Giger designed the chestburster puppet himself, although his original idea went through some revision before it was implemented. Similar puppetry was also employed in The Thing for the peeling dog effect. While the actors in Alien knew about the puppet, they had no clue about the fake blood squids, hence their real-life alarm. Thanks to Giger's expertise, the scene became one of the most memorable in cinematic history.
A worm in a living body. Oh.
Which practical effect still has you oohing and ahhing? Let us know in the comments down below.
Oh, I thought I had her.
And today we come to the top 10 practical effects
That was
in horror
nice.
movies. Hi. It's me, Chucky.
What do you think?
For this list, we'll be looking at the best, most believable or iconic examples of practical effects found within horror movies. Do you have a personal favourite? Let us know in the comments. Number 10, The Shark, Jaws. It's well-known movie lore at this point that Steven Spielberg and crew had one heck of a time getting the shark, affectionately named Bruce, to operate correctly on the set of Jaws.
The shark swallows whole, shaking, tenderizing.
The issues
For everything that round.
that Spielberg was forced to hold back
This
from
man
showing
ain't
the
playing
final
no
special
game.
effects, which succeeded in building up the tension towards a final reveal. And to be honest, we actually think Bruce looks pretty good.
What's a 20-footer? 25. 3 tons on them.
Worries about the shark looking fake certainly seem to melt away during scenes such as the first on-screen appearance, or the harrowing demise of Quint late in the film. Jaws is considered an all-time classic for a reason, and one of those reasons is certainly cinema's favourite shark.
You yell shark. We got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Number 9, digestion depth, the Blob. There are few horror remakes from the 1980s that have held up as well as 1988's The Blob.
Thing on that man's hand killed him, and then it killed Paul. And whatever it is, it's getting bigger.
In fact, many fans of the genre point to this entry.
Oh, they was not going, bro. Fuck y'all.
It's difficult to argue this point when the gross special effects are on display, such as the graphic digestion of Paul early on in the film.
I'm with a patient.
The violence of his death is so brutal and realistic that it becomes difficult to even associate this version with the 1950s counterpart. At the same time, the willingness of director Chuck Russell and crew to absolutely go for this level of gross slime consumption has made The Blob the stuff of horror legend.
Right, it was just
Sure.
it works sometimes, it don't work.
Well, you may as well, Tom, make sure she gets a good sleep, huh?
Number 8, Chucky, Child's Play. The production of 1988's Child's Play is another example where restraint and tension actually led to the final effect being all the more impressive. The movie takes a while in building things up to the point where Chucky actually moves, speaks and comes alive while in the presence of an adult. Up until that point, the potential for it all to actually be just the figment of a child's imagination is plausible.
Now, you don't really think that Chucky is alive, do you?
However, once we watch Chucky's scurrying feet, see those dangerous hands, and hear that iconic voice from Brad Pitt,
like this nigga unbeatable. Come on
the icon is born. Seriously, the puppeteering and animatronics on display are top-notch. Number 7, the Shunting Society. You may be asking yourself, what the heck is a shunting? To which we reply, you're going to be sorry you asked.
After the first shunting, we'll have that special treat we've been hearing so much about.
That's because this infamous sequence from the 1989 body horror flick Society is the stuff from which perverse nightmares are born. Special effects guru screaming Mad George achieves here some sort of absorptive body melding as high society aliens suck out nutrients from their victim in perhaps the grossest way possible. There's an almost gleeful humor to the scene.
I can't counter like him. That counter kind of ridiculous.
Sticky special effects work their magic. Don't say we didn't warn you.
You know, you really deserve what's going to happen to you.
What's going
Is this really where you want to spend the rest of your life?
You know I don't.
But this is our only ticket out of there.
Dang, bro, like no rest. He just. He just starts off with a full bar.
What's happening?
Something in the water. What do you mean there's something in the water? There's just something in the water.
Who's hunting us?
Oh, this is water.
Right.
Then they go, wonderful contribution to society.
Number 6, Henrietta Nobi, Evil Dead 2. The first installment of Sam Raimi's Evil Dead franchise boasts some serious special effects.
Oh, man! You mother...
That said, there's a marked improvement with the sequel, as evidenced by this fantastic bit of work from special effects designer Tom Sullivan. The director's brother, Ted Raimi, assisted in the production in bringing Henrietta Nobi to life, playing the woman with heavy makeup as her deadite form becomes more progressed. Elsewhere, actor Lou Hancock plays Henrietta in her first deadite form, although we admit to being partial to the creature going full gooseneck, as it were, showcasing first-hand Sullivan's imaginative creations. Number 5, Glenn's Death, A Nightmare on Elm Street. The world of special effects is full of questions like, how did they do that? The Nightmare on Elm Street franchise has been front and center
There's no lock on.
such as the time when the third installment shoves poor Jennifer into a television. Perhaps even more impressive, however, is the iconic bed scene from the first film, where a young man gets sucked into his mattress, never to return. That is, unless you're counting the geyser of blood that shoots out onto the ceiling, in which case Glenn Lance most definitely returned to make an impression. Just not the impression he likely intended.
There's a client about to say. Been a gel puking since he saw it.
Number 4, Chestburster, Alien. Directors will often
Look, I'm not even up yet.
Actors.
Like, good lord, bro, I'm not even up yet. This man thirsty.
Ridley Scott tried something with the iconic chestburster scene from the first Alien film, in that he didn't actually tell the cast what specifically to expect. As a result, the reaction of actors like Veronica Cartwright are very real and very effective, as the whole cast got to view this tiny xenomorph burst out of poor John Hurt's chest.
Something to eat.
One more meal before bedtime, I'm buying. Hey, that's great.
It's grim, goopy, and never fails to grab our attention each and every time. As for Cartwright, maybe she would have liked the Spaceballs variation a wee bit better. Number 3, Brundlefly, The Fly. The cinema body horror maestro David Cronenberg is littered with examples of special effects brilliance. One of these is the head explosion against which all others are measured, from 1981's Scanners. Elsewhere, the amazing makeup effects used on Jeff Goldblum in Cronenberg's remake of The Fly stand as some of the finest ever achieved. Goldblum appears practically unrecognizable as Seth Brundle messily devolves into Brundlefly. He gains super strength, sure, but soon pieces of him are starting to fall off, and that acidy spit sure doesn't look too pleasant. Finally, the transformation is complete, and the fly's grotesque final form is revealed. I'm afraid!
Don't be afraid.
No.
Be afraid.
Be afraid.
Be very afraid.
Be very afraid.
Number 2, transformation sequence, An American Werewolf in London. We just mentioned how Cronenberg perfected the subtle art of head explosions with Scanners, but what about werewolf transformations? Cinema is populated by excellent examples, from Universal's original Beast to Joe Dante's impressive werewolves in The Howling. But, and this is a very big but, all of them need to take a knee and bow their collective heads to the alpha of this wolf pack, An American Werewolf in London. Director John Landis and special effects legend Rick Baker constructed a transformation sequence that not only looks scary, but looks painful. It convincingly depicts the horror of physically transforming from man to wolf in bone-stretching detail. It's simply the best to ever do it. The goat of wolves, if you will. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, all of it. The Thing. It's difficult narrowing down one specific special effects moment from John Carpenter's 1982 masterpiece, The Thing.
It's weird and pissed off, whatever it is.
This remake of The Thing from Another World remains leagues away from its 1950s predecessor in terms of special effects, thanks to a couple of certified legends, Rob Bottin and Stan Winston. The entire team created cinema magic with nightmare imagery, such as the dog thing early on in the film, as well as the disgusting sequence where an assimilated Norris is defibrillated, with harrowing results. The Thing may have flopped during its initial run, but today it's thankfully been adorned with all of its proper genre accolades. It may just be the finest example of practical effects ever made on film.
When this thing attacked our dogs, it tried to digest them, absorb them.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from Watch Mojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about
they jumping the shit out, man. And did like a triple jump his ass combo.
So this is ad infinitum, and brace yourselves, people.
painting veins. Back in the 17th century,
What was that, too?
Today's episode, we're kicking off our annual Halloween Spooktacular.
Look at 2 different...
Hello, friends. This is Reeve speaking. Hey there, guys. This is.
Is supposed to be a beautiful place where beautiful things happen, but sadly it doesn't always pan out like.
Look at it. Right, look at it. I'm swinging and missing. Let's get it.
This is the spot. The Decepticons are using.
As President Biden has told.
Welcome to Watch Mojo.
Your local judge. Evil 8 is a game filled with many iconic and bizarre and
talking about? I've been here 5 minutes.
Time. Difficulty in hand.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting.
Last video I did, which by the way you guys really enjoyed. I loved all the feedback. A lot of you said you wanted to see some monsters that I wouldn't be able to guess.
Man, look at jumping. Look at taking time. That's crazy. I can't think that. Look, I couldn't even get that. It was taking time. That was on it.
Arteries slashed by homicidal roosters. A moronic robber who thought a gun store would make a perfect score. A rogue missionary meeting the arrow.
Wendy, I'm home. Senator, just one more thing.
Love this suit.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today.
It was just.
Freaky Friday to Ted, Big to Aladdin, and Bedazzled to Pinocchio, Hollywood has been churning out movies about wish for.
Right. It's like, come on, this nigga literally getting jumped, boy.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the best
Movies, especially slasher.
Starman.
Have the lamb stopped screaming?
Welcome.
Norris and I gave me the idea that maybe every part of him.
How it must have been to grow up with the sky.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the horror baddies who had the most sympathetic motives.
Media and horror movies go together like blood and guts. Oh!
Action. Gut. There are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, and no escapes.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today...
Son, I make you a so.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20.
Of horror is a cruel, cruel beast when it comes to the unfortunate characters who find themselves terrorized and tormented by whatever particular threat is rearing its sinister head.
Alright. I don't even know how many I had left. I couldn't even turn the camera.
Freddy, Michael, Jason, Chucky, they're all names that live in horror infamy. And that's why today we're going to...
Kill Richard? What if I do?
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at memorable instances where film antagonists or sources of danger happen to be underage. We exclude characters who were possessed or victims of.
Horror in the early noughties was complicated.
Who don't mind a sputter, damn me.
belly spiders is me.
There's no going back.
Every genre has a certain set of expectations which engenders it to an audience, and there's good reason that these cliches and reliable tropes are
How you doing? I'm Callan, and this is Slapped Ham. You're about to see some really scary videos.
What's the best horror movie set in every US state? I'm going in alphabetical order here, and I tried to keep this as quick and concise as possible, but
When done right, there's nothing quite as unsettling as a clever found footage film. While death is certainly a very common occurrence in this subgenre, there are those times in a found footage movie where death seems like a far more appealing option than what we see play out. With that in mind then, I'm Jess from What Culture, and here are 9 found footage fates worse than death. Number 9. Watching your friends suffer. Host. 2020 was a year in which the world was turned upside down, with quarantine restrictions and lockdown regulations in place across the globe. From the minds of Rob Savage, Gemma Hurley, and Jed Shepard, though, Host managed to take this painfully real situation.
Yes. Is that gonna stop?
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 instant karma moments in horror movies.
At the time, it feels like horror movies end on at least a partially happy note. Things usually draw to a close when the baddie meets their horrible end, leaving our main characters to stroll away successfully into the sunset.
68-year-old Edwin Curtis is being pushed to the brink of insanity by his unrelenting itch.
The itching is driving me crazy.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down.
Who doesn't love a surprise villain reveal? I mean, no good movie is complete without a memorable antagonist, and sometimes
she's gonna bring this back. I'm gonna take this real quick. I'm gonna use it. She's gonna bring it back.
Okay. Welcome back, guys, and welcome.
Oh, and I'm gonna get the uncomfortable questions too, because my sister Monica's already there, and I know she's gonna say something about my pregnancy, or she's gonna be like, "This is what the questions I'm gonna get." Are you gonna be able to keep this baby? Are you sure? Don't you think it's best with your history? Thank you, baby. Oh, and the ever famous question, how are the kids?
Timer. Timer.
Oh, and apparently, baby, they had to go back. They didn't get too far, but they had to go back because my niece Tiara, the one with all those problems, she collapsed in the kitchen. So they're wondering what she smoked or took, you know. 9 times out of 10 with her, it's lace shit. You know? Running around and thinking she grown and shit. God. Now I know how those people talk about me.
Looking for a light beer, and you found gold. Modelo Oil, the gold standard of light beer.
Horror is meant to make you uncomfortable. uncomfortable, sure, but should it test every limit imaginable to shatter the viewer's psyche? These films seem to think so. I'm Teddy from What Culture Horror, and these are 10 extreme horror films that try to break their audience. Number 10, Exhibit A. We'll start this off with a not-so-wholesome family film. This found footage flick tracks the journey of a father who, due to his inability to reconcile with his own failings, puts his family through a nightmare they may never be able to escape. Exhibit A takes full advantage of the found footage subgenre. The movie is personal, with the violence, both physical and emotional, coming across as painfully intimate. Everything that happens in the story could have been avoided if, even just once, this man took a second to self-reflect, rather than wallow in self-pity, but he never does, and those he loves must pay dearly for it. Take the moments where he verbally lashes out at his family. His explosion of anger turns him from a loving father into a rage monster devoid of any humanity. His character switch in these moments is naturalistic, allowing you to get a small sense of what it's like to be a fly on the wall of a violently dysfunctional household. The most messed up thing about Exhibit A is that the way it treats domestic violence is genuine. This doesn't feel like a made-up series of events, but rather a recording of a real-life incident. Number 9. Terrifier. It's always bloody clowns, isn't it? Two friends on Halloween night are stalked by a demented man in a clown costume. If they want to survive, they'll have to run, hide, and fight like their lives depend on it, which they do. There is a scene in Terrifier where villain Art the Clown bisects a woman with a handsaw, and it is agonising to watch. The worst part about it, though, is not necessarily the violence on screen, but that the movie treats it and all of its gruesome displays of violence against women in particular as cute. Its scenes of death and torture are handled in such a way that it's as if the movie is winking at the viewer. This clashing of horrifying visuals and childlike tone gives the whole film an old-school grindhouse texture to it. But not in the way that feels like a throwback. It's more like it uses its style as a way to challenge the audience to turn it off, but also to egg them on like a bully. You will not come out of watching Terrifier feeling good. In fact, you'll probably want to give yourself a time out to think about what you've done by getting to the credits. Number 8. The Poughkeepsie Tapes. These are not the home movies you are looking for. After the police raid a house in New York, they find hundreds of videotapes made by a serial killer. As the investigation proceeds into finding the identity and whereabouts of the killer, the viewer is subjected to his record of murderous mayhem. Simply calling the Poughkeepsie Tapes disturbing doesn't come close to cutting it. It's the kind of movie you watch on a dare rather than seek out on your own. It is structured and edited in a way as to make it seem like each tape could be from a legitimate documentary. The tapes themselves are not only nauseating to watch, but almost hypnotic because of how uncanny they appear. You'll want to rip your eyes off the screen, but you will find yourself unable to out of sheer curiosity. It's as close to a snuff film as you can get without actually being one, forcing your eyes to treat it like a car wreck on the side of the road. It also makes for a fun drinking game with friends. Take a shot whenever someone says, "Why are we watching this again?" Number 7. Climax. Gaspar Noé's art house horror flick Climax is like Dante's descent into the Inferno, only without a Virgil to guide you safely through it. This is coming from the same bloke who gave us 2002's Nightmare Irreversible, however. What do you expect? Doubling as a psychological horror film and the most effective anti-drug PSA in the past 10 years, Climax follows the cast of a dance troupe who, during their after-party in an abandoned building, find that their punch bowl has been spiked with LSD. As the night goes on and both cabin fever and the drugs set in, the troupe sink further into the deepest depths of human degeneracy. To get this out of the way first, if you have anxiety of any kind, please stay away from this movie. The gradual build-up of tension is meticulous in how it aims to unnerve and build a sense of revulsion that leaks right through the screen. One of the scenes that stands out involves a woman whose screams of pain are realistic enough to activate your fight or flight response. Yikes. By the end, you'll want to find your nearest shock blanket and just wrap yourself up tight. Number 6. 3 Extremes. 3 Extremes is a movie where the title tells you everything you need to know about it. This 3-piece anthology horror film features 3 segments from 3 different well-known Asian horror directors. There isn't any central theme tying the 3 short films together. They exist only to be, well, extreme. Instead of trying to scare the viewer, the movie goes out of its way to unnerve and unsettle. Take the first segment, Dumplings, for example. To see what happens in it would ruin the surprise and get this video, probably taken down. But to give a taste, let's just say you'll never look at chopsticks, bathtubs, or even food again for that matter. It makes everything that comes after feel deserved. A huge accomplishment considering the 3rd segment is directed by Ichi the Killer and audition director Takashi Miike. You know it's going to be messed up when he's in charge. 3 Extremes needs to be experienced to be understood, and even then the only thing you'll understand is that you need professional help after watching it. This movie does not go around. Number 5. Henry. Portrait
Alright,
of a
there's
Serial
no
Killer.
breathing.
Humanity has never felt so
No breathing.
depraved. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, follows the day-to-day life of nomadic serial killer Henry. He is joined by his prison pal Otis and Otis's sister Becky. Plot-wise, think of the movie kind of like Dazed and Confused, only with serial killers instead of hippies and far less pleasant to watch. When watching Henry, you can almost understand why, despite being filmed in 1985, it wasn't released until 1990. The movie is completely unfiltered, giving it a raw sense of realism that makes it feel like you're there along with the characters as accomplices in their cruel crimes. A huge aspect of what makes it so effective is that the world in which the movie takes place in is our own. Serial killer narratives have a habit of trying to spice things up, adding style and substance to give them an extra kick.
Damn, I
Henry's not
can't
like
touch
this. There is
nobody.
nothing movie-like about it. It is an unflinching, unapologetic look at what it truly means to be a monster. The movie acts as a reminder that evil like this can exist anywhere and can be enacted upon anyone. No one is safe from the boogeyman. Number 4. Be My Cat, a film for Anne. Run for the f***ing hills, Anne Hathaway. In Be My Cat, a film for Anne, an amateur Romanian filmmaker, inspired by Anne Hathaway's performance as Catwoman in The Dark Knight Rises, decided to make a film for her in hopes of winning the actress's affection. Be My Cat is a movie that is so uncomfortable it becomes unbearable. The interactions between the filmmaker and everyone else are cringeworthy to the point where it feels like you're listening to nails on a chalkboard every time he speaks. Moments of torture and murder, of which there are several, become even more sickening than they normally would because of his childlike demeanour. Even while committing immensely heinous crimes of violence, he does not see what he is doing as wrong, treating those he is harming as nothing more than toys for his own enjoyment. According to the film's trivia section on IMDb, after watching some of the footage, an executive producer went out of their way to check in on one of the actresses to make sure she was okay because her abduction scene was so realistic. When said scene hits, you'll find yourself unable to blame the guy. Number 3. Tokyo Gore Police. This one requires an apology in advance before being talked about. In a dystopian Japan, life forms known as engineers whose bodies are infected by a virus that turns them into biomechanical monsters have begun terrorizing the city. Ruka, a member of the engineer hunters, is tasked with bringing an end to the chaos. Japanese cinema is no stranger to insanity. However, this particular movie amps the weirdness up to a level that breaks the goddamn scale. You will see some sights in Tokyo Gore Police that will simultaneously both boggle your mind and have your brain malfunction in trying to process even just a fraction of the visuals. Underneath all the guts and gore is a smart movie about the dangers of authoritarianism. Though getting to that message involves falling down a rabbit hole of more nightmare fuel than you can shake a stick at. Take the scene in the sex club, for example, where a man gets his penis cut off and it's replaced by a literal cannon. It might sound funny, but it is far from comical. Okay, maybe it's a little funny. The woman who has knives for limbs, however, is not. This is movie magic at its most grotesque. Number 2. The Treatment. This Belgian crime flick makes Seven feel like a Pixar movie in comparison. A traumatized detective must track down a vicious child predator before they claim their next victim. In the process, he comes to unravel the mystery of what happened to his younger brother, who was taken by a paedophile when they were children. The subject matter in The Treatment is stomach-churning to say the least. It may be classified as a crime film, but it is 100% a horror movie. Crimes against children, especially those of a sexual nature, can make one lose faith in the human race. This movie knows this and refuses to sugarcoat anything, delivering a movie about abuse that is always difficult to watch. You will struggle to finish it as at every single turn it makes sure to never give you 1 second to breathe. One horrible thing happens after another, almost as if it's trying to one-up itself. However, it does not revel in its darkness, rather it shows us things for how they are, and is all the more soul-crushing for it. Number 1. Angst. If you've ever wondered how a movie can make a man eating a sausage a worse sight than necrophilia, this is the film for you. In Angst, immediately after being released from a prison stint, a young man decides to double down on his criminal behaviour by engaging in a deadly home invasion. At its core as a movie, Angst seems to have a deep contempt for the very concept of basic human decency. This is an ugly, vile, filthy little film that at every moment is filled with a violent resentment for anyone and anything remotely respectable. Much like its twisted protagonist, Angst is out for blood. The performance of the man behind the murderer is real. Whereas in Portrait of a Serial Killer there may be some, albeit small, sense of humanity under Henry, there is none with the killer here. You're rarely ever not with him, creating a bond between audience and character that lets you fantasies. Think of it like Inception, but instead of going into the mind of you're inside the one
I get bothered all the time, bro.
Gacy. Then there's the sausage-eating scenes which are best left untalked about. Thanks for this one, Austria. Thanks a fucking bunch. And that's our list. What extreme horror movie broke you? Let us know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe and swing on by our channel again if you want to catch more creepy content. I've been Tilly and this has been what?
Heroes, come in all shapes and sizes. Some feel well.
You need to get us out of here.
Some are a bit more unexpected. And most definitely don't wear capes.
I'm great with people.
You want a cookie?
You get style points for that one. Whatever your hero style.
Greetings, guys.
You can find it on Tubi.
I think you like it.
Movie, theory.
Horror movies certainly love toying with audience expectations and even getting a fast one over on viewers, because when it really works, it can make the overall experience
I'm not getting
entertaining and unforgettable. And what better way to fool audiences than to persuade them, trick them, hoodwink them into rooting for one of the movie's monsters? Hell, perhaps even the monster. It's admittedly a tough ruse to pull off, but there are a number of ways to do it. Say, hiding the monster in plain sight.
That's crazy.
Being, or
I'm not touching them, bro. But they touch. Okay, that's wild. They own me, but I'm not. Okay.
Yes, keep monstrous until the penny dropped and we finally realised we've been duped off.
That's crazy. That head bothers me.
Horror movies to make us uncomfortable and have us questioning our own judgment, for better or worse. With that in mind, I'm showing very poor culture of horror, and here are 10 horror movies that tricked you into rooting for the monster. Number 10, The Faculty. An easy way to appeal to our most base biases, take a monster and disguise them as a seemingly harmless, even adorable character. Furthermore, it's doubly effective gambit if you make them an attractive woman. That is precisely what Robert Rodriguez did in The Faculty, as it's revealed in the third act that the monster's alien queen has actually been hidden in plain sight the entire time, taking the guise of cute, naive high schooler Mary Beth Hutchinson, played by Laura Harris. Her disarmingly affable demeanour led most audiences to immediately write her off the suspect list and actively root for her to survive, such that when she eventually disrobed and revealed her grotesque real form, it was a genuinely jaw-dropping surprise. Mary Beth's utterly non-threatening presence and apparent romantic interest in Zeke, played by Josh Hartnett, made her a total blind spot for most viewers, compelling them to cheer her on for most of the movie. Oops. Number 9. Fallen. The criminally underappreciated Fallen kicks off with a scene from the end of the story, where Detective John Hobbs, played by Denzel Washington, is running through a forest on the verge of death, as his voiceover narration tells the audience, "I want to tell you about the time I almost died." Given that Denzel is playing the hero and all, we're immediately motivated to push for his survival. But when we see the sequence play out within its full context at the movie's end, that support promptly evaporates. You see, the film climaxes with Hobbs willingly allowing the fallen angel Azazel to possess him, but here's the twist. He's poisoned himself, in the hope that it will effectively leave Azazel stranded in the wilderness with no way to lead him to a new body. At this point, however, the voiceover kicks in again and we realise it wasn't Hobbs talking to us at the start, it was Azazel. Azazel almost died, while Hobbs indeed dies for real. And then Azazel manages to possess a cat, which stumbles upon the scene, the implication being that this allows Azazel to return to civilization, possess another human, and continue his reign of murder and mayhem. Number 8. Trick or Treat. Michael Dougherty's cult classic horror anthology Trick or Treat leads us to believe that young out-towner Laurie, played by Anna Paquin, is going to fall victim to school principal / serial killer Stephen Wilkins, played by Dylan Baker. Given Laurie's apparent innocence, typified by her Little Red Riding Hood Halloween costume, we of course want to see her turn the tables on Wilkins and fend him off in satisfying brutal fashion. And while that happens, it does so in a totally unexpected way, given that Laurie, her sister, and her friends are all revealed to be werewolves. As it turns out, this was Laurie's first time looking for a victim, and in seeking out someone who deserved it, she settled